Spoiler alert, we're unpacking the whole plot, twist by twist. If you're spoiler sensitive, hit pause and come back when your TBR list catches up. Cheers!
Welcome to the podcast where our reading habits are unhinged.
And so are we.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Miranda.
And this is Marginally Unwell. Welcome back, book lovers.
Yes.
Today, we are unraveling My Husband's Wife, a story that proves sometimes marriage is murder. Metaphorically. Or maybe not.
Jumping around there.
Secret lies and shocking twists lurk around every corner, and just when you think you know what's happening, think again. This one will keep you on your toes and questioning everyone's motives. Was an interesting one.
It's one of my favorite kind where it's like kind of like catch on.
Yeah. It doesn't happen.
Kidding. That's true. Sometimes I just want to be like comatose.
No brain waves are happening.
This one made me want to use it. Anyway, moving on to our first question.
The novel centers on identity. How does the story challenge the idea of knowing who someone is?
Honestly, that's rough because the whole book is like, who is this person? Is it this person? Because you're like, you're trying to convince, what was it, the cop, right, at the beginning, that she was Carter, that she is Eden, right? Like, I am Eden. And he's like, okay. And then she's like, this is my house. That's my husband. And the husband's like, you're not my wife. I would know who my wife is.
Yeah.
And you have like no identification, like ID or anything. And you're like, well, am I? And then somebody else comes in saying that they're you. That'd be rough. I'd be like, hold on, is this a bad dream? Like, is this for real? My husband thinks I'm not who I am. This other person is saying that they're me. And it's just,
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't even know what I would do in that situation.
I don't know. I'd be playing my ID with me. That's what I would do.
I should probably do that more often.
Probably. I feel like we just feel like you need to carry your ID.
I don't take it whenever I go walk my dog or like,
That's crazy behavior.
what?
Yeah. You should be taking it with you.
I have to take a whole, my whole. It seems like a lot of work, but I guess so.
I'm saying, what if somebody gets you?
Not with my dog. Well, I guess if they will. I don't know. Okay.
They can have a dental stick. Get her too.
A dog dental stick. I know how to get this lady. They need a dog dental stick. I never really, because I'm like, oh, she's going to be like 5 minutes.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. That maybe is a little different. You are like great in your apartment thing.
Mm-hmm.
But she went on a full run, like away.
That's true. Yeah, she was like,
and you carried no identification, no key. Like you literally had nothing to prove that you were. She didn't even have her phone,
which is psychotic.
That's what I'm saying. Is that she literally had no way of like anything. I mean, obviously the big deal with identity in this is about Eden, and you know, basically 2 women are saying that she is, that they are her. But, I mean, I think the story really goes into identity with, like, the relationships that form and, like, not actually knowing who people really are, kind of thing.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you
you only show, like, so many.
Right.
Someone so much.
And so it's kind of, like, gives that, do you ever really, like, fully know someone type of thing. Even people who you're, like, really close to.
I think, that's up to the person.
I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, I feel like that's the central idea of this whole book.
Well, yeah. But they also have, like, a lot of stuff going on. Like, this is, like, a...
I mean, some of the stuff is extreme, sure. Not, I mean, most people aren't out here, like, committing crimes and stuff.
Hopefully.
Like, I mean, I guess I don't know.
We don't really know anything.
Exactly. And that's the answer to this question. Next.
Okay, moving on. We're going into philosophical. Be here forever. Do you believe identity is defined more by memory, relationships, or perception?
Your own identity or somebody else's?
and just says identity. So I think all around, because I mean, you give a different version of yourself to everyone, whether you intend to or not.
So then wouldn't that just be perception?
Yeah, because yeah,
Because you have your perception of your identity, but then like
Correct.
you would have a different perception of my identity because it's coming from your viewpoint.
then what you would think of your own
Right.
identity. Yeah, and then your significant other has a different perception, and
Right.
then like your coworkers, and then
Yeah.
so on, and your kid, whoever. Yeah, I would say perception.
Got there quick.
We're like right here, from one extreme to the other.
Literally going so deep into nothing, and then next question. The end. How did you feel about Eden as a narrator? Did you trust in her shifts throughout the book?
I thought she was a good narrator. I liked her point of view, like getting to her thing.
Mhm.
Even though I'm not a big fan of what's the one? What's the trope that I don't like? It's not really necessarily a trope, but the unreliable narrator.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my favorite. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine.
And that's really what this was, because
yeah,
I didn't trust that. It's like,
yeah. I was like, because you
I said, this is weird. This is weird.
yeah, she was very sus throughout.
Also, I was like, even if you're not the real Eden, why is your husband feeling like he needs to do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why is he keeping you? And then also, did you escape from a mental institution? Like,
Exactly.
is she a stalker?
Maybe we're part of the problem because we were like, she's crazy.
Either that or her husband. But like, why would he go through all of that? But then we find out why. But
Yeah, I was wondering if it was like just like I don't know, some weird form of like control, or like he didn't want to be with her anymore, and so he just like gaslit her.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Like a little bit after the scene, because it kind of moves on, and she's still trying to like figure out how to get her like physical identification, like her ID and her keys and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
And so I'm like, okay, well, she actually thinks that
she really believes.
she
it.
really believes she's this person.
Yeah,
She's like trying to prove it. And then it made me think, okay, well then if she, let's just say that she is, why is her husband doing this? And it's like, what is he trying to push her out, like a whole like mind trick housemaid situation?
yeah.
Or he
Who's
Yeah.
crazy here?
what is the reason?
I think that's why I didn't mind it, and I think she
I
was
just
fine
went
as a
on it.
narrator, was because it was like so obviously unreliable. It's not like in some books where you don't really know till the end that like everything they were saying was
like sometimes I lie.
exactly.
That one,
Like you thought you were just hearing her story, and then at the end, basically, it's like everything you thought she was saying was not true.
yeah, she was like gaslighting herself.
Yeah. And turned gaslighting the rest of us. So, but I feel like from the get go, because it was like
Already a mystery. She's
an
trying to solve.
identity crisis situation out the gate. It's like first couple pages, so it's already like, well, I don't know who
Figure
to
it
trust,
out,
but
yeah.
I know like pretty much I can't trust anybody. So obviously she's unreliable. I felt fine about it.
Harrison insists he knows who his quote unquote real wife is. What does this say about control in relationships? Control
What does
in
it say
relationships.
about control?
Control or control in relationships?
Control in relationships, but
I don't think it necessarily is about control. I think it's about ability. Like you're relying on like your significant other to like be there for you. And so is he like really controlling?
I mean, he is because he's controlling the situation.
Well, yeah, but you're also relying on him to like back you up on your identity. I think is that what it is? What was the question?
He insists he knows who his real wife is. What does this say about relationships? I mean,
You know,
I guess what it might say about control is like, would somebody who wasn't controlling in a relationship or had control of the relationship, would they be able to pull this off?
if
You
he
know what I
didn't have control, would he be able to pull this off? Did you say?
Yeah.
I was concentrating on my sneeze.
So, because I'm thinking about it like, if she had control in the relationship or if she was controlling in any way, like, would he have been able to pull that off? Or vice versa, if they had the same exact relationship, would she be able to pull that on him? basically. I don't know. I also think
I would think that I would say yes, and I think it all has to do with like confidence in it, because if they were both like quote unquote equal standing in the relationship, right, and they're both confident in themselves, it's like however you portray it, right?
right. So
But
he controls the whole situation because
in that part of the identity,
yeah.
yeah,
Because I mean, they went to this town and he basically presented this other woman or he planted her to like go out into the community to be like, this is Eden. So then, whenever she was like, no, I'm Eden, they were like,
he's
no,
controlling the narrative.
Right.
Would she be able to do that to him if she wanted to?
I also think there's something to be said about that, of just like, as a society, how easy it is for us to automatically be like, obviously the woman is the one that's unhinged.
Because we're emotional.
Barf. Get out of here.
Well, some of us are.
That's not what I meant. I'm saying
that's a perception of women.
Yeah, and that's not a good enough reason.
I also think that it's insane too, because how would a man be able to like plan all of that?
That is true. I'm just saying that is crazy.
You know, because this is it made me think too. Like, also, well, this is I'm bringing up but also the husband and the housewife. Like, how would a man be able to plan that in depthly to the extent to like driving the woman, like gaslighting her, you know, into stuff? And it's not just like words, you know, where they get confused, but it's like actual. And let me reach out to this person. Let me set this event up. Let me do this. And it's like, okay, well, that's a lot of effort and a lot of planning. I don't think that a very small percentage of men, I think, would be capable. Is that mean?
No, I get what you're saying, but I mean, I guess they can be controlling other ways. But yeah, that was intense. That was a lot. So
it's a lot of effort. Like the art show, and I don't remember what else he did, but getting the woman to do all of that.
Yeah, you got a woman to do it.
Wow, that's true. He's like, let me get a woman to mess up this other woman. Yeah, a woman out there. Next question.
How does gaslighting function in the story, and where do you see it most clearly?
Everywhere. The whole book.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most obvious is the identity situation, because he's literally like, you're not who you
lying
say
to her face
about who she is.
I think I would know who my wife is.
So that's not just like, oh, you said this thing or you did this thing. That is like, you're not who you say you are. Can you imagine if I was like, obviously I would know who my best friend is. You're not Miranda. Like, that's crazy. That's wild.
Girl, you in a car accident?
So I think that's the most obvious, but then like, I think the other thing is everybody was trying to cover up their own stuff, and so it came out with them like gaslighting the others to like steer them away from their own secrets, basically.
Yeah, it was all kind of like a tangled up mess.
Yeah.
They were like kind of going along that way. Their stuff doesn't get uncovered.
Right, exactly. So I think it happened a ton. I think the biggest one is the identity one, because that's like absolutely wild that you're going to convince somebody they're not who they say they are. Because towards like the end, or not the end, but like of what happened with Eden, like she fully was like, "Am I crazy? Like, am I not? Like, did I imagine this whole life?" So crazy.
Yeah, she has to like second guess everything. Like the little other woman said. Insane. What role does Gabriella play in determining the truth? Why is her perspective so powerful?
I think the biggest thing is because, well, obviously she didn't talk. So
Gabriella's a daughter.
Yeah. Okay. So she was nonverbal for most of the book. So her actions like kind of spoke loudly, I guess, because it wasn't like another person just like talking bullshit through, like, you know what I mean?
She's
trying to like defend something else.
Yeah.
Right.
She wouldn't. She's living in a facility like what, an hour away or something.
Something.
And so she's not like in the know of everything. doesn't say anything. So she's like a true quote unquote third party,
Yeah.
like perspective.
Yeah. And then, like, what we end up finding out about Edie and Gabriella's accident and everything. So the perspective is so powerful because Edie thought for a decade that she was the cause of it. But Eden was the one who, like, created that perspective for her. So obviously Gabriella was there.
She's like,
and had, like, a firsthand. Did I say Edie? Or
Yeah.
Did I said Eden and Birdie.
You said Edie.
Birdie.
I was like, who's Edie? I had to go back to
Okay, my bad. She thought she hurt Gabriella the whole time.
Yeah. Like
And-
she was the reason for being like,
Well, she thought she hit her with the car.
yeah.
And we end up finding out through Gabriella that actually
It was Eden.
that pushed her off the balcony and then planted her there. So she created that perception for Birdie to, like, think that way, which
Yeah.
in turn created this whole other life for all of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a huge factor in their life, and then ultimately, when they found out, that was the reason for all this junk going on, and them trying to get back at Eden. So, really, it drove the whole story.
Yeah. It really did. Push wild. Also, at the beginning, whenever Eden was telling the cop, "Oh well, my daughter can help identify me," and then she goes there, she's like, "That's not my mom." Like,
Yeah.
creepy, like
She
scratchy
was really
voice.
creepy, and I was like, I don't think they need to make her like be, because she wasn't.
She was just a little girl.
She wasn't like she ended up not being one of the like bad people or anything. So because for a second I was like, did she do something? And like she's actually nutso or something. Because the author really portrayed her as so creepy. I don't know. I don't really.
It gave me the
why.
heebie-jeebies
Yeah.
every time she like had a conversation.
Yeah, but that was crazy.
Scary.
So Birdie arrives with her own baggage. How does her storyline mirror or contrast Edith's?
I think it contrasts, yes. Because Birdie really does have it rough. Like, she thinks, well, we don't know it at the beginning, but towards the end we find out that she thinks that she hurt her own child and she didn't, like, she's carrying that baggage. She also, we don't know what exactly her illness is, but we do know she's ill. We also know that she has, we're talking about Birdie. We also know that she put a lot of her time and effort into being a detective and a police officer. She's like the youngest female that ever made detective and has like these however many cases solved with them, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then she decides to take like this detective position in this tiny town where Connor is, and Connor gets Carter.
We're killing it with the names
We're
today.
killing it with the names. At least we're in the realm.
Okay.
It's all about identity here. Carter gets a little butthurt because he's like, I should get the promotion. I've been here for so long and I've been doing so well and blah, blah, blah. And he gets a little butthurt about it. But
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of like a funny kind of sideline. Arrives with her own baggage. How does the storyline mirror contrast to Eden's? I think Eden does work for. She did put in some work to get to where she was, but she didn't put in that much effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she basically harmed a child. That way she can get the husband. And then to have, like, a rich housewife life.
Yeah. Well,
Versus Eden having to, like,
but that's the thing is because
career-driven and...
it started out with like the lie of her hurting Gabriella and everything. Her whole life was easy to crumble and easy for her to question. Where Birdie was like by herself. She only had her. Like, I feel like she was more, even though she obviously had issues with like her illness and then we find out about the accident, I feel like she was more contrasting to Eden because she was who she was and like she was sure of that and didn't have anybody else in her life to like change that perception of her. But Eden started out that relationship with a huge ass lie. And then, so like, it was so easy to like crumble her life because then she's questioning everything. Yeah. And so I think like that was super contrasting, but then also at the same time, I think it mirrored it because she changed the perception to create this life for herself. Eden did by pushing Gabriella off the balcony, but then at the same time, the perception of Birdie's life also changed because she thought she did it. So it's the person who actually did it versus the person who thought they did it, and their lives were vastly different because of that.
Yes. The seaside setting of Hope Falls feels isolated and eerie. How did the setting enhance the psychological tension?
I mean, I think the big one was because it was like
So isolated.
so isolated, it was easy for the quote unquote new Eden to just like get in there and convince everybody, you know, that she was Eden.
Also, didn't like the real Eden also not like make much of community impact? That's why it was so easy for them to like
They
out.
had just moved there into that house
Oh,
from the city. And
forgot about
so basically he had
Seaside, or what is it, Spyglass?
Spyglass is the house.
That they're in at Hope Falls. Okay, yeah.
So they like just moved into this house basically, and then he had the fake Eden go into the community. So then whenever she came back from her run that day with no proof of who she was, and he was like, nah, this is her, then everybody in the community was like, yeah, no, I met Eden. Like, that's her.
Perfect timing.
I think it being like small made that easy because it was a lot easier to. It's going to be a lot easier to narrative if it's like a tiny town, and then it was really eerie, especially with like the fact that they had that cliff that apparently a bunch of people unalived themselves. So, I mean, I feel like that created more tension with the story of like, well, did she jump? Did somebody push her? Did somebody want people to think that she jumped? It created a lot more tension with like not knowing what happened because of the eerie.
I think it brought a lot of into it because of the isolation. It's also like really kind of creepy too. I think it'd be like really cute, but the way it was written is like kind of creepy. Like it's like foggy.
Yeah,
like it's right off of the cliff, like you were saying, but it's like beautiful, but also like kind of dangerous. And then like there's these secret tunnels that people know about, but some people don't. And then also like the little girl drawing drawing this house on top of the hill, and then with the creepy voice. Like I think it really brought into like the
mystery and creepiness.
Yeah, it gave it like an underlying feel of unease. You know?
Yeah. How does the novel explore the idea of being seen, quote unquote, versus truly being known by the people closest to us? I think we kind of already touched on this, but I think a big one is like you're not actually knowing people. Sometimes people just see what they want to see. So if you just like let them, you know what I mean? And so they're not actually like getting to know you because they'll just accept what they want their perception to be. But also it comes into question what we were talking about earlier. Like, do you ever really know somebody? Like,
yeah. See, because the idea of being seen is the first thing that came to mind about that is Carter, and Birdie. Like whenever Birdie is sick and he's like paying attention to her, like he can tell like something's not right. He knows whenever like she means something but says something but means something else. Like he has this like perception antennas out.
He's able to see her, but he doesn't really know.
He doesn't know her.
Yeah.
And like he sees what she needs, but also knows that she won't say that she needs it.
Yeah.
Like her medicine or like needing to like move on. Whatever it may be, like it's interesting. And they don't know each other very well. I think they've only known each other a week or something.
Yeah.
A couple days, something like that. And then versus truly being known by the people closest to us, it makes me think of Eden and the husband. What was his name? Harrison. I was gonna say Harriet. No, that's a woman's name. There's the name right there. So Harrison, where he's like he knows Eden, but then doesn't really know Eden because he knows her, but she has like this massive secret, like we were saying about Gabriella, and he doesn't really know what she's truly capable of. And they're supposedly like close because they've been together, 10 years or something?
Yeah.
No, not 10 years. 5 years. Because Gabriella fell 10 years. How old is she? Oh, she's 8. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, 10 years. So you think you would know somebody, but apparently your whole relationship is a lie. So those are the two that come to mind, and it's interesting that it's like two different love interests.
Yeah.
Anyway, how does your secret both past and present shape characters' choices?
Well,
That's like the whole book, I think.
that, yeah. Basically, is like all of their past coming back to haunt them. And the past secrets, like Birdie having the secret of, obviously, she thought she.
I think it's also kind of like freeing for Birdie in particular. Like it wasn't. She can let go of the guilt of her thinking that it was her. So it's like freeing that to know that she wasn't the one to harm her child. Versus the truth comes out for Eden that she did this to the child.
Yeah. But
Sorry.
But it ended up basically shaping who Birdie was because she thought she did that. And so she stepped away from her family and basically chose this life of like putting everything into her career and everything like that because she thought that
she had left.
because of that like giant thing. And then also because of her secret about like her illness and stuff, it made her basically like have nothing to lose. So that shaped a lot of the choices she made with like going to Hope Falls and all the things. And then
The second time?
yeah, like whenever she went and like was staying there and became there and all that. Like, what did she have to lose at that point? Because she thought she was like dying.
Yeah, she went like 6 months or something.
Yeah, and so there was that, and then the secrets about her grandma too with Carter.
Yeah.
So
Also, just a sidebar here. Wasn't it crazy about like that company that can
predict your
death day? It gave like very Black Mirror.
There is a book that I really want to read right now. It's called The Measure. And it's basically like one day everybody, this is a total side note, you guys, so sorry for this tangent. But basically everybody like gets a box and it has a string in it that like shows you like your life span. And so the whole book is basically like exploring the idea of like, would you open the box? Would you know? So I've heard the book is really great, and I've been really wanting to read it. I just haven't got there yet. So it is an interesting thing because they have that in here, like knowing your death date. Like, would you want to know? And obviously, we know it's not like 100% accurate.
Right. But the idea of it
Yeah.
is interesting because it's like
She made so many decisions based on the fact that she thought she was going to die on that day.
the grandma as well.
The grandma too, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was just interesting. It was an interesting concept, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize this was like a sci-fi.
it's not really. It's like that
like,
aspect of like a futuristic type.
Yeah,
vibe.
but it also gives like it does help shape the character's perception.
Yeah.
I thought it was an interesting
Yeah.
piece to put into it. It did go along with the story. It was just
Yeah.
where are we going?
It was crazy that she didn't even know that was his. He did it after they separated.
Yes, it was Harrison's.
Yeah. Speaking of Harrison, did you feel any sympathy for him at any point? Why or why not?
I mean, to a very small extent. Like,
Yeah.
to a very small extent. Like with the daughter getting hurt. Like, I don't think any parent should it's never the kid's fault. And like that part of it, but everything else I was just like, I hate this guy.
Yeah, he was a lot. Honestly, like, I do feel bad that happened to his daughter, and then he was like basically tricked into being with the woman that
He had an affair with.
he.
Because Eden was their nanny
Right.
at first, and then they had an affair. And the whole reason Eden pushed her out was because Gabriella saw them together.
Yeah.
And so she pushed her out the window and then set it up to where the mother, quote unquote, hit her with the car. And which is a terrible way to start a relationship. And
well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the only part that I really feel bad about. Is that because then, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be carrying guilt for the fact that, like, if he wasn't already, like, doing that, like, that situation would have never arose and, like, his daughter would have gotten hurt. So I'm sure he's, like, feeling some of the blame for that.
Right.
But then it sucks because then he also feels like he could have trusted that person. But he could.
Exactly. I only felt bad for him there.
For like a second.
Yeah. Okay. What does the novel suggest about marriage and the roles spouses play in shaping each other? I think they give, like, specifically Harrison and Eden's. I think it gives very traditional roles. Because he's a breadwinner, she doesn't work. She has, like, a hobby that's, like, painting that goes into, like, showings and charity events and stuff. So it's more of a, I feel like it gives more traditional.
Yep. Which I think is the reason he was able to, like,
Be with it.
Well, sorry. The reason that he was able to pull that off of, like, gaslighting her that she wasn't Eden. Because
she didn't have an identity outside.
Right. She was his wife, basically.
Yeah.
So,
versus whenever he was with Birdie was wanting to be more independent. Not necessarily independent, but have her own life outside of her family. Like, she was driven to be a police officer, to become a detective, to do this and that. That's the whole reason that they had Eden in the first place, is because she was also wanting to work.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that she had to, but that she wanted to.
Yeah. I definitely think that their roles in a marriage can affect, like, how they affect each other and, like, their life as a whole, because he would have never been able to do that. I don't feel like.
I don't think he would have been able to make his company the way that it was if he was with Eden.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, with Birdie.
Yeah, because
he would only be able to do that with Eden, because Eden wanted to be home. She was
the nanny.
She was the nanny. Versus Eden, that was also not Eden. Birdie, that was also ambitious and driven. I think it's interesting.
How did the alternating perspectives influence your understanding of events?
I think that it was written very well in this book. Like, it didn't take you too far into the future. It didn't take you too far in the past. It gave you just the right. I think this author does a really good job of that, because I remember that same thing with, was it Sometimes I Don't Know Which One's the one with the book? No, what was that one? With the journal entries?
Yes.
Yeah. I think she does a really good job in comparing it to that one, because we've read that, but
of, like, giving you what you need
in that moment without giving away too much, but just enough for you to, like, have a tripling of context. I mean, anytime you get an extra piece, it does definitely put more pieces together. But you're still kind of wondering the whole time, because it's not necessarily enough.
Yeah. Well, the more you, like, get to know people and, like, the past events that have happened, but it wasn't, like, a huge jump. There were, like, a little bit of things from her childhood, and then at the end, we saw more of what happened at the accident, which was 10 years before. But I feel like majority of it was really, like, a 6-month span. Because it was, like, whenever...
The last 6 months?
Yeah. And so I feel like it did just enough to be like, this is how we got here, basically. But it stayed mostly in the moment, and I feel like the different perspectives helped that.
I agree. So you also get, like, their thoughts behind it. Like, the husband like why he was doing it, doing the things that he was doing, and then Birdie,
Yeah.
Eden, whatever. What do you think the story ultimately is saying about the truth? Is it objective or constructive? In this book in particular, I think it's more constructive. Because a lot of stuff is built off of like a perception of a major event.
Yes, but I also think it's objective though because we're getting it from their perspective. So it's constructive in the fact that like ultimately it's like a domino effect with the events that happened and the choices that they made. But it's objective because we're getting the perspective of each individual person and like basically their truth of the events.
Right, but it's based off of a. Let me read the question. Okay, I see what you're saying. What do you think this story is ultimately saying about the truth? Is it objective or constructive? I'm thinking like because of this event that was constructed, the objective is based off of that, like between each of the characters. So I guess both.
Yeah, I think it's both.
I do.
Because the real truth was constructed, I guess.
That's what. Yeah.
But it was based on the actions they took from their perception of what was happening.
Birdie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it was objective because it was her perception of what happened that caused her to like make these choices, and that's what constructed like the truth.
Right.
So I kind of think it's both.
I agree. I agree that it's both. Also, but that's interesting because objective is it's always gonna be objective whether an event is constructed or not.
Yeah. Because they're making the choices, but based on their own truth.
Right.
And so then it's constructed via the actions that were taken.
Right.
So I guess ultimately maybe constructed is what I don't know. I really think it's
I'm getting stuck on like what brought it all to like yes, their objective of something changes the perception of how they continue moving on, but based off of an event. So whether that event is constructed or just an accident, it would still not necessarily lead up to the same thing, but it would still be. So in the end, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to make your choices based off of like what you believe.
your own, yeah.
So, okay, I would say more objective sometimes.
Which twist impacted you the most, and did you see any of them coming?
Which twist impacted me the most? The creepy daughter drawing spyglass.
I was like, ooh.
Is she going in the tunnels? I don't know. She was really creeping me out, and I didn't see much past that. I was like, it didn't occur to me that somebody could be visiting her. I was like, how does she know? How is she drawing so well, you know? And of a house that she's never seen, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that just because it was creepy to me. So
Yeah.
Also, what was the question?
Twist impacted you the most, and did you see any of them coming?
I saw it coming that something was wrong with Eden. Like, she deserved what
Was happening?
I was like, was something, I didn't necessarily know exactly what it was, but I knew, like, she earned what she got.
What's happening? Yeah. I agree with that. I think I did see a few of them coming, like with the grandma, like owning a good bit of the town and selling off Carter's family's like pub thing. I kind of saw that coming. I didn't see this coming the whole time, so it was like closer to when it was revealed. But I think the one that impacted me the most was that Birdie was Gabriella's mom and was Harrison's. Like that was
I agree. I had a feeling, but I didn't have like a basis on it, so it wasn't like
yeah.
I was like, this is too it's too intertwined, especially whenever she kept talking about the death day and trying to get the death day, and then it had to go up. I was like, there's something suspicious there.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of figured, was it Discord or something? Whoever did the death day, the company that did it, wasn't really real. It was kind of like a algorithm based.
I also was 100% sure she wasn't actually going to die. Like from the get go, I was like, well, okay, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But obviously, it was her driving factor for so much of the book. So
Yeah. And I guess if once you're at that point in your life,
yeah,
just like forget it.
exactly. She's like, whatever.
Yeah. Also, something I kind of saw coming was wife, or his simple wife, not being so simple and like understanding, and her knowing that like Carter's stepping out, but decided to like.
Oh, so sad.
That
She got so real.
She got the real short end of the stick.
She really did. She just seemed so sweet, and she was just like, I'm just trying to raise my kid.
Yeah.
What's craziness going on?
She was so nice. I also think it's kind of sad because I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think she ever like understood that Birdie didn't know that he was married, and like was basically like, what are you doing? Stop.
Yeah.
And kind of like ended it. I think she kind of knew that. I think her perception was that Birdie knew he was married and continued on with the versus her not knowing and not.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt bad, but I kind of suspected that, especially whenever she was like, oh, I invited her over. And I was like, interesting.
That's
Wow. If you were in Eden's position, what would you have done differently? Not push a kid off?
that's who probably I would. Right. I mean, that's crazy.
That is
Obviously,
an insane.
I guess I was just like taking it as like in the position of like
the very beginning.
the identity thing. Yeah.
The identity thing, yeah.
Obviously,
Also,
it
like,
would be hurting.
why would you running around with like no phone, like
You
no
literally have nothing
headphones?
in a place that you just moved.
Yeah. I would at least want Google Maps.
Something, some sort of
Is
like
there like a trail runner or like a stripe? What's
You
the running
even
app?
gotta-
Strava?
Strava, other like run app. Like you don't even got an Apple Watch. Like nothing. Like that's crazy.
Out there just raw
There.
dog.
That is wild.
We are.
Which character did you find the most complex and why?
I thought Birdie, I really liked her character. She had a lot going on, and I think she took it in stride and probably not very healthily. I don't know. But I did find her very complex because she knew everything in the end. Like, she knew what her husband did, what Eden did. She knows about Carter, and she still chose to move forward with how she saw fit, even though like she may not benefit from it in the end, because she's in her mind thinks she's gonna die in like 6 months based off of her illness. So I found it very interesting that she has all this bad negativity stuff, but is like so focused on her drive to get her lick back, but also even like moving past like her betrayal from her husband, from Carter, from her sitter that she trusted was her most precious thing in life,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I also think Birdie, and I think it's because she had a lot of introspection of herself. Like she really looked into a lot of like her childhood dynamic, like how she grew up, and really, like you said, I mean, she was able to walk away from the situation where she thought she hurt Gabriella and was doing what was best for her. And so I feel like that made her like a more real, that people are actually going to be thinking about these things. Like, obviously, we're not going to learn till the end that Eden was the one that pushed Gabriella, but like she had none of that. Like there was no depth to her other than just like what we were learning in the moment and the fact that she's like supposedly Eden and all the things.
yeah,
And yeah, she had
was
like
very-
no thoughts about her own life.
she had like you said, the most introspection, but also the most acceptance of where she is in life.
Yeah,
Which is huge.
that is hard to do.
That's hard to do. You can think about it and manifest it, but getting there is a whole other story.
Yeah.
After finishing the book, did your view of the title change? What does My Husband's Wife mean to you? Mean to you now?
I thought in the beginning, because it was like the identity thing right in the beginning, I thought my husband's wife was going to be like this other woman that he's like. I thought it was going to be Eden's story talking about like this other woman who like took her life, and then obviously it ended up being his husband's wife because it was actually Eden was the husband's wife, not.
Yeah, interesting. I thought the same thing as you, that where it's like the current wife and then finding out that the husband has a second life.
Yeah.
And then like realizing that your whole life is not
what you think it is.
what you think it is. But in the end of it, I think that My Husband's Wife means that she accepted what her husband did, and in the end they did unite and then come against his current wife.
Yeah.
So I think that was like a full circle moment where they had like that connection.
I think it was interesting because it started out me thinking it was like Eden, and then ended up it was Birdie. So yeah,
that was good. Interesting. It was definitely an eye-catching title.
Yeah.
That's the book.
Would you recommend this book to others?
I would. It was a fun ride.
Yeah. Thought it was good, interesting, kept a good pace.
What'd you think of the writing style?
Again, I'm gonna say that I liked it. Not normally a fan of. I shouldn't say normally. I'm not always a fan of the multi-perspective thing, but I feel like it was done well with this one. I like the writing.
Me too. I am also going to go with that. This definitely, I think her writing is very interesting between the two that we've read, because this one's more of like, the narrator is unreliable versus the other one where it's like you're not going into it thinking that the narrator is unreliable, even though the title says sometimes I lie. So I guess maybe that's on me. Did warn us. But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes it's hard with the multiple character POVs, but I think the characters are very defined and it's very easy to pick up which one is which. In addition to that, I think all of her plotting is written out very well. Like the then and now aspect, I think her plotting on that sometimes can be crazy, but she does it very well. Story engagement.
I thought it was engaging. Like I said, didn't really. I feel like you were always like learning something new. Felt like we kept the story rolling pretty well the whole time and trying to like figure it out. Read this in one sitting, so I'm gonna say engaging.
I was gonna say, yeah, I read this one very quickly. I remember it being very. I don't know, like it was a lot of drama. Like what? Like even on the side characters or like supporting characters, they have like their own, like Maddie and Carter, and like he has his own, like, oh, I'm put on what is it, leave with pay. He has
when he was like suspended.
When he was suspended, like the dynamic between Birdie and Harrison going at it when they know that they're husband, and at the time you don't realize it.
Yeah.
So it's just, I thought it was interesting, like the drama, the thriller aspect of it, and then it also gave like this underlying like kind of creepiness.
Yeah.
So I agree. I gave this book 4 stars. Yes, a solid 4. It wasn't quite a 5 to me. I think it's 5 potential. I think it just needed a little bit more. But it's a very good book. This one's probably, between the book 2 that I've read of hers, this one's one
I agree. I also gave it a 4. Mine is a solid 4. I don't really have any feelings like it was, like I wasn't hesitant on giving it a 5.
I wasn't.
So I'm pretty confident that it was a good book. It was really fast. Like that, I read it once a day. So was good. I liked it, and I did like it more than Some Other Life.
Yeah, I agree.
That one went a little wild.
Yeah,
It went a little too far out for me.
yeah, that one I think had that shock factor in there, and
Yeah.
it wasn't necessary.
This had that,
this
but not
one,
like
it
it
was-
wasn't the same.
Yeah, it was. It did have some shock factors, but it wasn't like out of left field or like unnecessary.
So just like way off the wall.
yeah, I agree.
Not as off the wall as the lake one, but it was still like where did that come from? I feel like this one, a lot of it, like even if it was a surprise, I feel like you're like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like not like
like you could see how that could happen.
right, not just like crazy and you're just like, okay, they're nuts.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's my husband's wife.
that's today. That's it for today's episode. Next week, get ready for March Madness Book Edition, where books face off in a bracket-style showdown. Who or what will make it to the championship round?